tariff. How do you look at this entire sequence of events which have happened?
Well, it's obviously been a bit of a setback for us. So the first surprise was when suddenly 25% tariffs were imposed on India. That second 25% is a political matter. We had a huge problem which we had not anticipated.
What do you think, what went wrong?
Mr. Trump has this idea that tariffs are the magic instrument to solve a number of his problems.
Do you think he has alienated India?
The accompanying insults, both by Mr. Trump's own language in his statements and tweets, extremely offensive statements by his advisor, Mr. Navarro, those have certainly got a lot of backs up. So first surprise was when suddenly 25% tariffs were imposed on India. Now, why was that bad? Because other countries, particularly those countries in our neighborhood and in Southeast Asia, that are competing with us in the same kind of low value, labor intensive industries, they were all at 15 to 19% and we were 25. So suddenly our exporters had a premium of 6% that their rivals did not have. In some cases more than 6%, some cases up to 10% more, because some were 15, some were 16, 17, 18, 19%, depending on which country we're talking about. Suddenly the impact was terrible. In Surat, they laid off 135,000 gem and jewelry workers. In Tirupur, in Coimbatore, not only were they laying off workers, but some factories are now threatening to close. In Visakhapatnam, where exports of shrimp exports and marine products were targeting the US in very, very large percentage, they found their entire industry unviable. Suddenly we had a huge problem which we had not anticipated. We were still not recovering from this when the second 25%, which is not just tariffs but a sanction, came on us because of our purchase of oil from Russia during the war. That was supposed to be a means of pressuring Russia, but the damage was done to us because a whole lot of our industries became completely unviable. $48 billion of our $87 billion of exports suddenly became off the market. I mean, no one was going to buy. Cancellations of orders were taking place colossally. And we suddenly found ourselves in a position where, with the exception of pharmaceuticals, where they still have not decided on their tariff rate, and the question of some electronics like Apple iPhones and some electronic parts, by and large, everything else, suddenly India was essentially in the process of losing America as an export market. Now, that was very, very bad news, but as you know, there's been some change. First of all, the Americans had cancelled the visit of the delegation scheduled to come to India on the 25th of August for the 6th round of trade negotiations. Fortunately, they restored that in September, and the delegation did come last week. And now this week, our Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has gone, which suggests to me that they are very close to coming to an agreement. That would be on the first 25%. So if we can get that 25 down to the same 15 to 19, maximum 20 that our rivals have, then we are back in business on all of those items, provided that second 25% is dealt with separately. As long as that second 25% is there, it almost doesn't matter what the first 25 is, because with that second 25, we're out of business with America, and we will have to go and diversify our exports elsewhere. But that second 25% is a political matter. It's not, as far as I'm aware, it's not in Mr. Goyal's brief to go and do that. He is there to try and settle a deal on the trade elements. So that's where we stand on the tariffs.
So what do you think, what went wrong and what next? Because you are a keen observer and you have dealt with foreign affairs.
We shouldn't immediately assume something went wrong between us and America particularly. What went wrong to begin with is that Mr. Trump has this idea that tariffs are the magic instrument to solve a number of his problems. What are these problems? He feels that too many things that used to be manufactured in America are now being imported from abroad. He wants to make that more expensive so that the American manufacturers will start doing things more in America and employ American workers who are his base, the MAGA constituency as it's called. Secondly, he believes that tariffs can be a useful source of revenue for his country. There is a massive, massive deficit in America, colossal. I mean, it's the largest in the world by far. He hopes that by actually collecting, as he claims, billions of dollars every month in revenues by tariffs, that he will be able to bring down his deficit. And thirdly, there is also the feeling that some countries, in his view, have been getting a free ride at the expense of the American consumer, and that therefore this is a way of paying them back. That's why he calls them reciprocal tariffs, though many of them are not reciprocal at all, because the tariffs he's imposing, in many cases, including us, are higher than what we were imposing. Our average tariff on the US average was 17%. Theirs is a blanket 25%, which is simply not fair either. So all of these things, to my mind, suggest to me that his logic is nothing to do with India particularly, but is more to do with his domestic political constituency.
So do you think he has alienated India in a way, because we are singled out on various fronts? Even China, who bought Russian oil, they are not penalized.
Exactly. So the unfairness of this has definitely created a very strong backlash in India, and the accompanying insults, both by Mr. Trump's own language in his statements and tweets, and subsequently the extremely offensive statements by his advisor, Mr. Navarro, those have certainly got a lot of backs up in New Delhi and across the country. Because frankly, you know, if there is no particular problem in a relationship which for 30 years has been heading towards greater closeness, greater warmth, why would you suddenly use this kind of language about India? It was not at all appreciated.
Is it a point of no return, sir?
No. I would not say it's a point of no return, because I do believe that the longer term interests of both countries will eventually bring us back on even keel. It's certainly a very sharp setback in the short term. It is costing us, it is costing jobs in India, it's costing losses in India. And so for India, it is undoubtedly bad news this year. But look at the larger picture. Is America, whatever Mr. Trump do, prepared to write off India altogether? At the moment, there's no reason to imagine that. There is a lot of cooperation taking place on defense, on intelligence sharing, a number of areas of cooperation, everything ranging from outer space to IT and AI and so on, where the two countries are cooperating at various levels, well below the level of the heads of government. So I don't see that suddenly halting. No one has told anybody in America to stop doing that. Those are of great interest to both countries. Secondly, we have fundamentals that are still real. That is, we have a very large presence of Indians in America. 4.3 million Americans are of Indian descent. We have still the largest single student body, though I think that will go down with the new H-1B thing. But at the moment, the largest number of foreign students are Indians. The largest number of CEOs in Silicon Valley who are not American or not of American birth are Indians.
Is that troubling Mr. Trump?
It's troubling some people in his backers, because let's face it, the anti-immigration constituency has suddenly become much more vocal and much more acceptable than before. America used to be a very open, welcoming and inclusive society, irrespective of your color, your race, your religion, whatever. Today, the dominant political forces, the so-called MAGA movement, are very openly anti-immigrants. And particularly the visible immigrants, that is, people of a different color who dress differently or look different, can immediately be spotted as not of the sort of white ethnic mainstream. They are being targeted much more in ways that were not considered politically correct in America in the old days, but today political correctness is not a priority.